So we're going to start with our first work group update. And our first work group update will be given to us on persistence by PLANit.
Thanks, Thomas. I know we have a full agenda today, so I'll try to keep this really brief. But first off, we're happy to welcome Brittany Nielsen from SEF to our persistence work group. With that said, we also want to thank the work of Kelly Romanoff because she was instrumental in assisting us with getting approval for our current project, which is a $5,000 grant from the Gulf Coast Community Foundation to fund our student influencer social media campaign that we're working on as a work group. Our campaign will see a group of rising high school seniors and first and second year college student influencers basically use a bunch of different social media platforms to promote key milestone events on their road to college. And they'll also post about key events of college life while also hopefully strategically emphasizing the benefits of our local options here in the area. We'll provide them with key talking points about topics like FAFSA, National College Decision Day, SAT prep, and working with the college and career advisor. The goal of this campaign is ultimately for them to put it in their own words and use their own voice to share the challenges and lessons and successes that they face along their journey. We're still planning out the logistics together as a work group alongside Tracy, but we're happy with the progress we've made so far.
All right. Well, thank you, Ternay. And Jennifer Johnston popped up into the box. A reminder, Kelly Romanoff just had a baby recently, and I believe the baby boy's name is Louis, right? Is that correct? All right. So, and both mommy and baby are doing well, so that's good news there. I am going to fill in for Nicole Pena. She's going to be joining us later, but she had a meeting running at the same time. The FAFSA work group actually lifted a couple ideas off of the persistence work group. I was sharing with Jennifer Vine about what the persistence work group was doing, and at the same time, FCAN had a grant via the Helios Foundation that we thought we could use that same idea of a student influencer there. So we had to figure that out real quick in order to connect with the grant. And I'm excited to say we did receive the grant. We've started the campaign, and I'm going to share my screen and give you an example of what it looks like. And as Ternay said, our whole goal was to make sure that it's the student's voice and their students' words. So we're going to do that here. Let me know if you can see our screen. See my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and here we go.
It's Bella, and today I'm here with 3 myths that I will be debunking today for you guys. So, number 1, just because you're not planning on taking out a loan does not mean you don't have to fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA is there for you to get opportunities with scholarships, grants, and loans. Number 2, just because your parents are undocumented also doesn't mean that you don't have to fill out the FAFSA. Only the student's eligibility for citizenship is verified for the FAFSA. And number 3, just because you're a DACA student, it doesn't mean that you can't apply for the FAFSA either. You just need your social security number. And if you have more questions, feel free to check out this website, planetsarasota.org, or ask me some questions. Thank you, guys.
All right. All right, so that's an example of those. So as Ternay said, we'll also be using that in the persistence campaign, except they'll be doing more of a student's day in the life, more forward-looking as versus some of those testimonials there. But so that is that update there. And now I'm going to give it to Shauna Donahue for career exploration.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday Eve. Yeah. Can I get a big yes? It's almost Friday. From the Career Explorations Work Group, boy, Michelle's really getting into it. She's like clapping. Last general meeting, I had shared that we partnered with STC and the Education Foundation, the Student Success Center down in Northport, and did a lunch and learn. And it was quite successful. We had 40 students that didn't have a plan, weren't necessarily planning to go to college. And we talked about upcoming fast track trainings we were partnering with at STC. I'm happy to report of those 4 students that successfully completed our automotive lube fast track training, 2 of them are now employed. So we've got, yes, so 2 of the 4 that just graduated earlier this month are now employed. One is employed at Sunset, and one actually made the switch and went to PGT. And the other 2 gentlemen decided to go to college. Well, one moved away, the other decided to go to college. So leveraging that success, we went to Sarasota High, and Cheryl let us in her house at the Student Success Center down there. And we had about 8 students come and listen. And Justin at STC and Trip, they were there to talk about our marine outboard training. We had about 8 students. I'm happy to report of those right now, 1 has already been hired by Chris Craft. So again, these are students that haven't even graduated that are now employed. It's very exciting stuff. And I don't see my partner in crime. I know she's here. Jennifer Johnson, you want to kind of talk about the way forward, what we're looking to do coming up this fall?
Sure. Thanks, Shauna. So we have talked about how to continue to build upon that success. So how do we bring career ideas, opportunities, employers to the students? So we'll have to, of course, work with the district in terms of where outside visitors are allowed into schools, but our hope would be to continue to visit our student success centers, maybe visit the Launchpad for You, and bring potential employers, bring opportunities where students can see firsthand experientially what's available in our community for careers, particularly those students who are least likely to have a plan. So we've talked with the district about how we might be able to identify those students. We know having the right audience is key. So thanks to all involved. It's been a huge partnership with STC and the employers and Career Edge. My cat thinks she's involved with all of these things.
I love it. That's awesome.
So looking forward to being in person with the students as soon as we can, because we know they're pretty burned out on the screens. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Shauna. All right, I'm going to move it to right now to having a plan work group. Cheryl Haller.
Okay, and I'm speaking kind of on behalf of Catherine. So I'll give you what we've got listed here. First of all, the having a plan work group, we have committed to using what's called the scope and sequence. There's activities that are career and having a plan related that students will be introduced to starting in 9th grade. And there's activities, I want to say there's like 20 of them that will take them all the way through their senior year. In addition to that, and that was Dr. Suzanne Burke, who helped set up picking what those scope and sequence activities through Naviance, what they would look like. And the foundation does have that software to share with all the students. Also, Michelle Anderson, who is the assistant principal and also in charge of curriculum, has committed the time to get into all of the classrooms for those 9th through 12th grades. And so we had to be kind of strategic in when and where we could get in. And I would also just maybe add in a piece that she also has the social emotional learning class, and this is on its 2nd year, I believe. And I think she was looking to expand it. So we're going to be able to report a little bit more of how having a plan is impacted by having class time. And so that was another commitment that was made, was specifically, and those are 9th graders that begin with that class. Then also we have APC meetings showed there was a desire to create having a plan, having commonalities, meaning something that's uniform for all of the schools, something that's standard, yet at the same time, we need to make sure that the plan provides some flexibility and customization based on the needs of each individual school building. And and staffing, structure, that sort of thing. And then it says here shortly afterward, this has become a district initiative from the superintendent. And I do know that Dr. Asplin is definitely down for what we're doing. And we just want to see this, I think, more formally put together. And so we're excited to get this puppy started this fall.
Thank you, and that's ultimately our goal. See some of these initiatives become policy, and with the backing of Dr. Asplin. And the great news is 2 of the key people that are on Dr. Asplin's task force also were in our work group, and that being Michelle Anderson and Catherine Kokoza. So We're hoping to be a pilot, if you will, and really use for them to just test some ideas. So we're very excited about this upcoming fall. All right, with that said, I am so excited. At FCAN, we have these meetings where we'll gather, and we're really blessed to have Kimberly Lent with us. She is the Assistant Director for Research and Policy, and she gave a presentation. I was blown away, and I said, Kim, can you come and do this for us? And she was kind enough to clear her schedule to do that. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly Lent to give you the update on the legislative session that just ended.
Thanks so much, Thomas. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, I think we're good. I am so happy to be with you all today. As Thomas said, I'm Kimberly Lent from the Florida College Access Network. If you're not familiar with who we are, just want to give you a quick little update here. So we are a statewide organization dedicated to making sure every Floridian has access and the ability to achieve an education beyond high school and then a rewarding career. We do this work in a few ways. One is through research, policy, data advocacy. That's where I live. We also support local college access networks like PLANit Sarasota. And then we also have a suite of statewide initiatives called College Ready Florida. Many of the things you all are talking about here today, and we often look to Sarasota as some of our shining examples around the state. So what I am here to talk to you about is 2021 legislative session, officially wrapped up in April. We did go into a little special session just to talk about the state's contract with the Seminole tribe. Nothing major. Just a quick little recap before I get into specific legislation. This was the first session that we've seen under the current new leadership. So Representative Sprawls out of the Tampa Bay area, and then Wilton Simpson from the Senate in Pasco County. So we got to learn a little bit more about what they're going to be focusing on. Surprise, surprise, a lot of higher education and a lot of workforce initiatives. So good for our work. Overall, there were over 3,000 bills filed, 275 passed. Looking at the budget, this year the governor signed Florida Leads budget totaling at $101.5 billion. $6 billion of that came from federal pandemic relief funds. If you've heard anything about session, you know these funds really came in handy when it came to getting a balanced budget, and made sure, and to our joy and surprise a little bit, we did not see cuts to higher ed like many other states did, and like we were expecting going into this past session. With that though, the governor did veto about $1.5 billion in spending. So looking at some of the things that passed, I only have 10 minutes. I could talk to you all about this for a week. But I'm going to go as quickly as I can, hit the highlights. We do have a full recap on our website, and you can, contact me at any time after this if you want to know more. So Senate Bill 52, this was a really big one in terms of dual enrollment, which many of us know is a proven strategy to help students on their career pathway and get them ready for college. This creates the dual enrollment scholarship program. Ultimately, what it does is it reimburses our college system institutions for the cost of dual enrollment for homeschool and private students. Previously, the institutions had to pay for that, and they were just getting no money back. The other thing it does is allows students to take dual enrollment for free, with the colleges getting reimbursed again for summer semester. So even more access to a really good proven strategy to help prepare them. The other thing it does, makes some changes to early college programs, and I know Sarasota does have a few of those in there. So it just changes the intent a little bit to turn collegiate programs into early college programs. And that intent changes to, they want students to graduate high school with a true AA at the same time, 60 credits. Previously, it had been 30 credits in these collegiate programs. This is still sitting with the governor right now. It was sent to him just this week. So our next bill we're going to look at, 233. This one actually was just signed yesterday, so this is a little out of date. I'm sure many folks heard about this one as well, especially our folks who are at the colleges and the universities on this call. So the big piece of this was the intellectual diversity survey that the State Board of Ed and the Board of Governors will be required to distribute out to students, faculty, staff to get a better sense of the types of attitudes and perspectives and beliefs on campus. Some other things that it does around privacy for different lectures. So it now allows students to record lectures and certain different class meetings, but it does not allow them to publish such materials. There's also some changes coming to student code of conducts for our colleges and universities, specifically if a student is removed from a student government office, things like that. New requirements for investigation procedures, including the presumption of innocence that you can see here, the right to an impartial hearing officer, and it just changes some of the language around who the burden of proof relies on. This one was also sent to the governor this week. 366, this was actually signed this morning. Very exciting here in Tampa Bay, actually. So this requires the State Board of Ed to come up with alternative methods to a standardized test for dual enrollment eligibility. This is one at FCAN. We are really, really excited about this. Jennifer Vine sat on our advisory committee this year for our advocacy agenda, so I know she's familiar with this, and she helped think through, FCAN, lending our voice to one. So what it will essentially do, the State Board of Ed now has to come up with that new criteria to assess college readiness that is not the SAT, ACT, or the PERT. Really excited. Research has shown that this does increase equity in dual enrollment access and completion. Another equity-minded provision in this bill, it does create 3 mathematics pathways in the state articulation agreements. What this does is, we all know, I'm sure many of us have been there, math can be a huge barrier to students completing their degree. So what this requires is that the different agencies have to get together and come up with 3 pathways that are specific to majors, meta majors, programs of study, so that students are taking the math that they need to be successful in their program and in their career. So we won't see students who are more liberal arts taking calculus, which can definitely trip a student up. I was one of those students, I will say. Another little bit here, the Florida Ready to Work credential. This is a little known bill that I think folks should be more aware of, and I want to mention it here given the topic of today's meeting. So this allows the DOE to reimburse employers. So think of students who do some OJT stuff, apprenticeships while in high school, and then even in the post-secondary level. The DOE can now reimburse employers for the cost of workers' compensation premiums. And this has come up many times in the past as employers don't want to participate in these programs because of this cost. So this one was actually signed by the governor, as I mentioned, today. So we will see this into law starting July 1st. Next up is the House Bill 847, the Florida Post-Secondary Academic Library Network. If you were familiar with the Complete Florida Plus program, this was a service provided out of UWF, Pensacola, and it was vetoed, by Governor DeSantis last session. So it lost its funding and the program was no longer operating. Certain essential functions were operating under a shared cost model between the colleges and the Board of Governors. So this completely repeals Complete Florida and creates this new library network of essential services that were once offered by Complete Florida, including distance learning courses, access to online degree program advising systems, and then a single online library. Many folks have asked about the status of My Career Shines. I know Sarasota uses Naviance. It's not a big concern for your district, but this does include some language to help the state figure out what's the next rendition of My Career Shines, since it no longer has funding as of right now. This one was signed by the governor earlier this month, so set to become law July 1st again. Next up, Senate Bill 1024. This is primarily a K-12 bill. I'm just going to talk about the post-secondary education side. And the big thing is it now allows public schools, public colleges and universities to sponsor charter schools in multiple districts. Previously, there were restrictions on where it could operate. This expands access, and ultimately a lot of those schools end up becoming lab schools or collegiate academies, early college programs now. This one was also previously signed by the governor earlier this month on the 1st. Next up, Senate Bill 1108. Again, another K-12 bill, but has some really exciting provisions for secondary education, college and career readiness. It updates current language around civil literacy requirements. Currently, high school students have to take a course that satisfies that requirement. And then in post-secondary education, students also need to take that. If in select courses like AP Government, AP Economics, students can now test out of that post-secondary requirement based on their high school transcript and success. What I'm really excited about here, this requires all public schools to administer the SAT and ACT to all 11th graders. Huge win for our work. Really excited. I see Cheryl. Cheryl, you're popped up right at the top so I can see all your reactions. I love it. So really excited about that. The governor signed it earlier this week, so it will become law.
Kim, real quick, is that at the cost to the school district or to the students? How's the cost covered on that question?
Covered by DOE
defined?
with a cost sharing component. So it's coming out of budgets, but no cost to students whatsoever. Yeah. So next up, 1261. This is a big one, has a lot of provisions around financial aid. I'm going to go through these quickly. If you have questions after the fact, again, contact me. So the two big things here are buy one, get one free tuition waivers. So these are only in specific programs that the Board of Governors, which oversees all of our universities, they will pick those 8 determined STEM programs. They are the excellence program. So we will know what they are. We should know what they are very soon or quickly. So students can actually get one class if they're in this program and then get an equivalent course for free. There are stipulations around who is eligible. They have to be a full-time student. They have to immediately enroll in college right after graduation. And then they have to be making progress towards a bachelor's degree, which really is earning 60 credits by their second year. Another big one here, this was a big priority for the Speaker of the House, the State University Free Seat Program. So this requires universities to waive the tuition and fees for one online course for a Florida resident who is a veteran, active duty military, or a student who has not been enrolled in post-secondary education for 5 or more years. So again, thinking about increasing access, really exciting. And then if the student continues on after this first class in an online program, they receive a 25% discount on their tuition and fees. There is a cap on this of 1,000 students, just to keep that in mind. So it's not ever flowing. This one got a lot of attention throughout session. The grandparent out-of-state tuition waiver. So for select top scoring out-of-state students who have a grandparent who is a resident, they can be eligible to receive in-state tuition if they meet certain academic and enrollment criteria. There's also some bits in here about career planning. So with this bill, universities would have to provide students in their freshman year a free, well, this is kind of on the next slide too, but to give students access to career planning tools, they would have to go through either an online module, some sort of course. If they do not complete this course, a hold will be put on their academic transcript and they will not be able to register for courses for their sophomore year. So we like the idea of this, but we want to make sure we're not creating barriers for students. And we know how academic holds can become a huge stop out for students. So something we're excited about, but we're keeping our eyes on. There's some more things in that bill. It was a big one, but that was the big one. That one currently has not been sent to the governor yet, but we don't expect any holdup. This is really the piece de resistance of this past legislative session. So House Bill 1507, I'm going to go through it quickly. It's very technical. So I will just let you know that we have a really good summary on FCAN's website. So the really exciting thing here is the establishment of the REACH office. So this is a new office that will go under the governor's executive cabinet, and it will coordinate all state and federal workforce programs. So everything that comes out of DOE, CareerSource, any private entities will all come under the REACH office. And this includes the Florida Talent Development Council, which is tasked with kind of setting strategic direction for the state's talent planning. There's also some really good financial aid aspects in here, an open door grant program. This is really the rapid credentials program that we saw come out of the governor with his CARES Act dollars. So it's a cost sharing program, again, where students can save up to 2/3 the cost of these short-term high demand programs. And there is some stipulations around that, but a big win for those programs. And then there's also a money back guarantee program. The district career centers and the FCS institutions will choose 3 programs. And if students complete that program, do not get a job within 6 months, and they will also set some additional criteria, they can get the money back for their degree or their credential. Another area in 1507 that when we presented this on our LCAN call last week, people were really excited about it. This tasks the different agencies involved in education, workforce development to come together and create a master list of credentials. So these are credentials of value that lead to a good wage, a good job, and what was really moving the needle on not only economic mobility, but our SAIL to 60 attainment goal. 1507
Sorry.
just keeps going. Yep.
I can't help but ask real quick. Does the law require that list to then be the list that's used for school grades? Or did that change not impact the school accountability question?
So it will eventually, in that these are the programs that will be funded. So this is what, in this program, it's really a committee has to come together. They're going to do a big analysis. And through that, we will know what really are those pathways that
What'll get reimbursed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what'll come out of this. Yeah. Good question, David. 1507 does not end. It's a very big bill. Other things that it does, previously the district tech centers and the FCS institutions, for some of these more short-term credential programs, there's never been any performance-based funding like we see in the university system. The same committee that has to come up with this master list will also have to come up with a funding formula based on that returned value as it's labeled in the legislation. We're also coming out of this bill creating one-stop consumer-first workforce system. This is a massive overhaul and transformation of our current systems. It's going to require DEO, DOE, and DCF to all work together to come up with a single intake system to determine eligibility for different services and benefits that the states provide. And ideally what it will be is that all these folks are cross-trained on one another's services, so that if someone comes to a one-stop center on their local state college, that person at the state college will also be able to advise a student on all of the other benefits that they might be eligible for and how to go seek those benefits. So ultimately, placing the burden back on the agencies and not the individual themselves who needs that assistance. This one's going to take some time. We're not going to see this roll out in the next year because it is so massive. And this one was just signed today. It was really exciting. It was here in Tampa. There was a lot of press and publicity. And that's really it, Thomas. I went as fast as I could. I hope I got to everything. I encourage you folks, if you want to know more, go read our legislative recap. I will share my slides with Thomas so you all can see this. And I am free now for any questions or at any other point to chat with folks.
Thank you, Kim. I'm looking on the chat. Any questions there?
I have a question. The ACT-FC FCAT exams, is that effective this year?
Yeah, it's going to start this coming year. So we're really excited about it. Of course, it's one of those things we will rely on our partners like Sarasota to let us know, is this really happening? Are you hearing anything? And how can FCAN nudge the appropriate parties in Tallahassee to move it along if possible?
Okay, so again, Kim is a veritable wealth of information. I encourage everybody to check out the FCAN page, and I'll tell you what, we'll be having Kim back probably in the near future too, and we'll take a deeper dive. So we're going to start with our panel discussion. I have today Josh Matlock, the COO of CareerSource Suncoast. We have Heather Caston, the CEO of Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce, as well as Destin Wells, Vice President of Economic Development Corporation of Sarasota County. So welcome to you all. Excited to have you all today. And I'm going to start it off with Josh. I'm reminded, Josh, that was back in April last year, our first meeting during the pandemic. My opening question to you was to give us an update on all the unemployment and as the sky was falling. But today I'm going to take it in a different direction. Why are there so many open positions right now that are going unfilled?
All right, thanks, Thomas. Great question. No, so the unfilled positions, it's like before COVID. It's not really a new thing. This existed before COVID. So if you think back to 2019, so December of 2019, the unemployment rate for Sarasota County was 2.6%, right? And then 4 months later, we had the pandemic, and in May of 20, the unemployment rate jumped to 14.8%. Right, so 2.6 to 14.8 in 4 months. And then now we're looking at, the latest numbers we have are May numbers for Sarasota County, and the unemployment rate is at 4.1%, so back down. What does 4.1% mean? So that 4.1% represents about 8,200 people who are unemployed in Sarasota County. And then keep in mind, the way that the unemployment rate's calculated is based on surveys. And so if you're not looking for work, you're not counted in that figure. So these are people who are actually looking for work, right? So you could have a much larger, I don't know how much larger, but you could have a larger percentage of folks who are not working but would otherwise maybe work if the economy was where they thought it would be beneficial to them. So just to keep that in mind. So the unfilled positions is it's like we hit the pause button for a year, and we've returned back to when the economy was pretty hot. So that kind of exists. But in terms of the unfilled positions and the need for talent, if you look at 2015, Manpower did a survey in 2015, and Manpower survey found that 32% of businesses said they had difficulty finding talent in 2015, 32%. And then in 2020, before COVID, that number went up to 70% of businesses said they had trouble finding talent. So, we've returned back to the time when we had trouble finding talent, and some of the things that I think can point us in the direction of where we're finding trouble is there's just simply not enough folks out there. The boomer generation is retiring about 2 million boomers a year, and this past year during COVID, we actually had 3 million boomers retire. So it's accelerated the number of retirements. And then the subsequent generations, there's not enough people in the next generations to replace the boomers that are retiring. So you have the mass exodus of boomers on top of record low labor force participation rates. So what they're finding are participation rates, especially among males, has been declining since 1980, and it continues to decline decade after decade. And then last year, we had 2.4 million women who left the workforce this past year. That doesn't, so what happens is not everybody re-enters the workforce at the same time. So that creates some pressure on the labor market. And so I think those things, labor force participation rate, the shrinking availability of folks to work because boomers are retiring at record rates here. So it creates a tight labor market.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Let me bring Heather Caston into this. Heather, we hear that there are jobs going unfulfilled, as we were just talking about. So what kind of jobs are these, and are they all in one sector or industry? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I would agree with my colleague Josh that this is not a new problem. We were even before we hit COVID, we were heading into issues with the tight labor market. So although COVID did have a dramatic effect, this isn't all COVID related. We're seeing, all of our businesses across any industry are in need of employees. If you just drive up and down 41, you don't drive by a business that does not have a help wanted sign out in front of it. And, that goes from the trades and manufacturing, companies like Gold Coast Eagle, they are in dire need of truck drivers, all the way up to, I was at a luncheon yesterday, and Miles Partnership, a company that does social media for destination marketing organizations. They currently have 24 open positions. So it is across industries, it is across business sizes. Everyone really is feeling this pinch. We, in partnership with the Florida Chamber, back in March, did a Florida workforce needs assessment study, and I'm happy we're happy to share this with all of you. But at the time we surveyed, we asked the question, do you expect to hire new employees in the coming year? 85% of the company said they will be hiring this year. So that's tremendous when you think about the need and the competitiveness of the market. And I don't know, maybe you're going to get into it a little bit more, but I think it speaks to, as employers, what are we going to be doing as employers to make our place of work attractive? And it's certainly, just like the real estate market right now, it's a seller's market. Right now, it's an employee market. And so I think as employers, we need to be, seriously looking ourselves in the mirror and asking ourselves the question, are we providing, a work experience that provides opportunities for people to move up the career ladder, opportunities to advance their career? Another question in the survey that I thought was interesting was that the question was asked, how many companies are providing tuition assistance? 45% of the respondents said that they are providing tuition reimbursement to their employees, again, with the idea of helping to grow and foster their teams. So I think, looking at things, we all got a taste of the remote option during COVID. I think companies, the way that business was done in the past is no more. We better get creative, and we better look for ways to, work with our employees. And in a lot of times that means that you're offering creative solutions based on individual needs. You're not able to, I know here at the Chamber, we have a small team of just 15 people. And we have had to make, special arrangements for employees. It's not a one rule that just, you paint the whole company with, okay, this is a black and white policy. Those kind of policies are kind of antiquated at this point.
Thank you. Destin Wells from the Economic Development Corporation. I'm going to piggyback on Heather's comments and just ask you, how are you seeing employers reacting to this shortage in labor?
Sure. So this last year has been a massive disruption for all businesses. It's been a massive opportunity for some communities and for some industries. Interestingly enough, I would say that I do think that this has impacted industries very differently. Those that rely on the boots on the ground, the hospitality, for example, clearly greatly impacted by the pandemic, very challenging to find the talent that they need to move forward. And they need those physical bodies that are right there, in proximity that can make their presence in that building known. However, other sectors, you look at technology, financial professional services, and some of these others, and their recruitment practices have shifted greatly. So they went from a 30 to 45-minute drive time from their business to countrywide, if not worldwide, for their search for talent. We have plenty of employers here, particularly in the technology sector, that are hiring people in Eastern Europe. So the reach for workforce through remote working has certainly shifted a lot of what's going on. I would say our employers here, some of the struggles that they're sharing with us is really based around its costs. I mean, I think that there's not a ton of mystery for our community of what's the challenge. A couple statistics for you. I mean, our average wage in Sarasota County, take all the jobs and mix them together and come up with a number. And you're looking about $47,000 to $48,000 is the average wage of a job in Sarasota County. You compare that to the national average, it's about $60,000. So we're lagging behind on our wage standpoint, yet at the same time, our cost of living is higher than the national average. Those two data points just simply cannot coexist in the long term together. You can't pay less and cost more and have a sustainable long-term economy and community. Housing, is something that we hear all of our employers talking about is the chief challenge for their employees. In Sarasota County, 4 in 10 households, 40% are cost burdened, which means that they're spending more than 30% of their total income on housing. So these are some of the forces that our local economy has presented to our employers, and some are able to adapt and to plan for that, and they're able to go out and look across the country, look across the world for talent. Other sectors have a much more localized and challenge where you got to have a physical person in that building, and simultaneously costs are rising. The average house in Sarasota County last month was $407,000. If you're on a $45,000 income and you have a $407,000 home, that's just, those don't work. And so you're forced to continue to go farther and farther. I think we all know Northport and Parrish have been looked at as workforce bases from which to draw. I was talking to Northport earlier. They've seen their rental rates go up 25% in the last 18 months. And so if we start pushing farther out from Northport and Parrish even, there is a breaking point. People will only drive so far. And so, these are some of the challenges that we're hearing from our employers. But I again go back to, I do think we need to segment the conversation a little bit. I mean, yes, workforce is a challenge. There's millions of jobs open across the country, and there's just not as many people looking for them. But localizing it to us a little bit more, I think some of these cost challenges, our wage profile and structure in the community certainly is part of the challenge. And then again, going by which industry sector and how they're able to adapt and respond to what today, today's economy and workplace is, it's entirely different than what it was pre-pandemic. And so not all industries are able to evolve the same way. So there's Thomas, a few ideas on and thoughts on what our employers are telling us.
Thank you. Having lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, just outside of Silicon Valley, I totally understand about being literally moved out by economics. All right, I'm going to go back to Josh. And Josh, we hear often about a skills mismatch, that sometimes there's the openings, but the employee doesn't have the skills and the like. So what are you seeing about this skills mismatch, and what are some potential solutions? And I'm going to say up front to everybody, we have 12 minutes. I'm going to ask you each for a 4-minute answer.
All right, thanks, Thomas. I apologize, cut out for this Florida thunderstorm here knocked my electricity out for a second, so I had to go to the phone. So apologize for that. For the skills mismatch, I think for the skills, what we're seeing is it's a symptom of there being fewer people to choose from. So for years, employers, decades ago, employers were able to be to kind of find the talent they needed to, because it was, when it comes to talent, you either make it or you buy it, right? Those are the two options. And for years, employers have been able to buy it, right? So they can poach from other companies. With a huge boomer generation, they had a lot of labor force to choose from. As the market tightens up like it has, you don't have as many options. So employers are going to have to be more engaged in making their talent. So they're going to be more engaged with community partners, with our educational providers, to begin to take it, to really optimize the talent that's available. So the work of like this LCAN of PLANit is as important as ever, to get more folks into post-secondary education and credentialed, and really working with employers to make that happen. So it's going to be closer partnerships, and they're going to have to invest more in making the talent that they need.
Thank you. Right on. Heather, you're hearing about this impact on employers, and share from, again, the local perspective, as Dustin was saying, of how it's impacting us.
Yeah, I think, just to touch on what Dustin said, the hospitality sector, I mean, there's hotels here in town who would be at 100% capacity, but are not able to sell to 100% capacity because they're only able to go to 60% because they don't have enough people to clean rooms. So, it's impacting the businesses by, you're coming out of a year of COVID where your revenues were significantly impacted. And now when the floodgates are open, you're not able to, capture that revenue. There's so much pent up travel demand. You're not able to kind of take advantage of that pent up demand because you don't have the staff. So, it is impacting employers. I agree with Dustin. It's impacting each employer in a different way. They're not able to service and recoup their revenues. I think it goes back to the employers who are going to win in this, who, they look at it and they say, look, we are going to pay a higher wage. To speak to, Dustin's statistics on local wages, the employers, who do, step out and offer a little bit more than what the average company is offering. The employers that are creative in how they work with their employees, how are they working with the young mothers and who, need to pick up and drop off at certain times, who don't have daycare, have daycare situations right now that they have to accommodate and deal with. So I think that the winners in this, are going to be the employers who step up and do those things. And they're hopefully the goal is going to be to retain the employees that they have, because it is going to be a competitive feeding frenzy. And those employees that are your top performers, hey, employers, you better be on guard and, be in tune and aware with who you want to make sure you keep on the team, because that's just the nature of the market that we're, operating in right now.
It's interesting, Heather, kind of like, as you're saying, the mindset of different senior executives in different companies. There are some that are realize that we're in a different moment, if you will, and therefore we have to be flexible. I can no longer do these ironclad one-size-fits-all policies. And yet I heard a couple companies that have said, basically we're going back to business the same way it was the day before the pandemic. And I'm like shaking my head. It's like you're sleeping during a revolution.
Yeah. If you really zoom out, Thomas, there's a great book out there right now by Jim Clifton. He's the Gallup guy, the Gallup polling. He wrote a book called The Coming Job Wars. And it's pretty fascinating. All the things that Josh said about the amount of baby boomers retiring and honestly, the lack of procreation. There is going to be, serious job shortages in the future. The countries that are able to create these high wage jobs and, produce significant GDP, gross domestic product. Those are the countries that are going to, come out ahead on things as we, head into the future. So it's a great read, and I recommend it as anybody who's in workforce should take a look at that book. It's pretty fascinating.
David just put it up on the chat for anybody there, so definitely grab that link. Thank you. Destin, what's Sarasota in this, from a macroeconomic view, how long do you see these labor shortages lasting? Or based on what I'm hearing on these last two answers, it might be we're in this for a long, long while. I might have answered my own question, but I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, let me share some more, and I apologize to everyone. I can certainly get into the statistics. So let me share with you some statistics about our labor force. Pre-pandemic, right before, our labor force, about 194,000 people in Sarasota County. Went down to 177,000 just a couple months later, right? So these are people, not just unemployed. These are people that left, that are not looking for jobs, that left the labor force altogether. Now, 2 months ago, we were about 5,000 people under pre-pandemic level for our labor force. Just looked it up from the Federal Reserve, and we're up to 192,000, right? So we're 2,000 below our total labor force pre-pandemic right now. Now, that doesn't seem like it might be that bad, like, oh, we're close to being back. Our population has grown 10,000 in that same period of time. And so despite population growth, we've had a shrinking labor force. And so that is certainly something that I think moving forward, we are going to see people rejoining the labor force. There are, any number of reasons. I know that we've heard a lot about the federal unemployment benefits, about the requirements for looking for work. I think that there is a lot to be said about the vaccines and people being comfortable, and Heather's point about the mother with childcare and those needs. So I think that you will be seeing people rejoining the labor force. The questions that I have really are going to be how does our economy, how do our businesses respond to this new world of how business is being done? Things have shifted. I mean, at the end of the day, this is almost basic supply and demand principles. Right? You got jobs, you need people for them. You don't have enough people for them. You're going to have to change the way that you're recruiting and getting that talent in. I heard I can't attribute the quote most appropriately, but I will share with you that someone told me recently that said, we can't find any employees. And another person sitting at the table said, well, you need to finish your sentence. And they looked kind of confused, said, what? And they said, you can't find any employees at what you want to pay them. And so I think that there's going to be a big shift here. I think that employers have to understand, we are not in pre-pandemic times. We are seeing generational shifts in their attitudes, their preferences. And those that might be a little stubborn really are going to find themselves in more of the challenge position. And those that embrace it, adapt and evolve to it, I think are those that will thrive, succeed, and ultimately attract the talent that they need.
Thank you. I want to open it up. If anybody, we could take one or two questions and then we have to move forward. But are there any questions in the chat, David, or did any questions come up in the chat, or does anybody have a question we can acknowledge you and get it in?
There's nothing here that people wanted to dive in on that I've seen. So
I have a quick question for the.
Sorry, Olympia, you just remuted.
I'm sorry. Is there anything that is working in a particular area nationally where there's corporations that are already getting out in front and embracing what Justin just described? Do we know of any companies that are already doing different stuff that is working?
I'll take at least a little bit of a crack at that. So, I mean, I think you definitely see companies that are adapting and trying to approach these things differently. Look at signing bonuses for restaurants. I mean, I saw a $2,000 signing bonus for a local restaurant that recently opened. Those did not exist before. I see our largest manufacturer in Sarasota County offering signing bonuses for manufacturing employees. That's I really liked Josh's comment about you can grow it or you can buy it. And now that's the buying it part, right? So those are some examples I think, and those are, in my opinion, more of the knee-jerk reaction. There's this immediate need, we're not getting it, put the bonuses in, and as I said, you can't get the talent at what you want to pay. So there's part of the example of people changing that formula. I'll let someone else continue on.
I would just jump in that, we know that 80% of our businesses are small businesses. So I'd love to speak to, you look at the larger companies like PGT who have an on-site daycare facility. I mean, a huge benefit to employees. They have on-site healthcare, but the average small business, those type of amenities just aren't possible. So that's where, I keep going back to, as an employer, you really do need to work with your employees that you have and customize things that work for them. So for some employers, it might say, hey, how about we do 4 10s, where you do 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days? Or let's look at doing, getting creative, and you're 5 hours in the office and 3 hours remote every day. I think, for small businesses, which make up the majority of our workforce, I think it's going to be it's an individualized plan for your company, for your employees, because you're not going to be able to ever reach kind of those big company type of benefits.
Christy's got her hand up, Thomas. Christy, go ahead.
Hi guys, it's great to be here. Not to be a Debbie Downer and add another layer of stress to this current situation. I just sat through Schra's their monthly meeting last Friday, and it was on the Florida minimum wage increase. It was a fantastic presentation that all employers are going to be facing as a sliding scale, right, over the next 4 years. And the first increase starts this September. And so what are the risk mitigation strategies that employers are going to take when they look at their business financial model, when they're going to have to be paying employees more? And the key thing is it creates wage compression. So we talk about bringing someone in maybe today at $15 an hour, and that's a good wage maybe in the manufacturing entry-level position. When someone comes on board, 4 years later and is getting paid that, you've got wage compression issues. So that's just another factor to consider as we think about the financial business model relative to talent and relative to wages. So that's my 2 cents. I know we have to keep going on the agenda, but just a factor to consider.
Thank you. It is a bummer, but that is actually a very, very good thought there. All right. We're going to go ahead now and go to our next group, and the educators. First of all, let me stop and say thank you to Josh, to Heather, and to Destin. Thank you for your thoughts and insights on that. That was very, very insightful. I'm going to move forward now to our next panel, where we're going to have a discussion from the educators based on the conditions on the ground right now. What programs do they have had in the pipeline and or creating to help with these, get people trained for these situations? And we're going to start off with Casey Welch. He has to leave right after, so we're going to get him in first. Casey Welch, he's the Assistant Regional Vice Chancellor at the University of South Florida. Casey?
Thank you, Thomas. And I want to say, along with Josh, if my internet goes down, I apologize. It's summer in Florida, so we know how that goes. I want to say a great job to my good friends Destin and Heather and Josh. I thought they did a great job of outlining the issues. I had the privilege last week of participating in the Florida Chamber of Commerce's Earners and Learners Summit and heard a lot of the dialogue that they brought up as well. And I want to give a special shout out to Kimberly from FCAN on doing a yeoman's work on the legislative efforts. As somebody who was involved in a lot of legislation, it was much better for me to sit back and listen to you opine about it than me have to do it myself. So on to the University of South Florida, Thomas. I'll talk from generalities because the University of South Florida Board of Trustees just this month adopted our new strategic plan for the new 1 USF, which will be 1 year old this July 1st. As some of you may know, the University of South Florida is consolidating all of its academic accreditations into one academic unit. So our campuses in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and here in Sarasota, Manatee, along with our College of Medicine, are all being one academic leadership. So I'm saying all to say that it was important for our strategic plan for us to look at how we are partnering with our business partners and economic stakeholders across the greater Tampa Bay region. And a couple of things that we looked at was making sure that we were matching our community strengths and needs with our faculty that are teaching and our research expertise across all of our campuses, and how that is syncing across one USF with our respective colleges and centers that we have across the entire institution. Some cross-cutting themes that we looked at here locally at the Sarasota Manatee campus had to do with critical and creative thinking, which was a specific theme that I heard last week in the Learners and Earners Summit in Orlando. And I think that's something that us in the higher education spectrum have to look at, partnering better with our community partners on not just the individual skill sets, which our partners in the technical and state colleges work very well with, but training critical thinkers and creative thinkers on the problems that they're going to face in the workforce. Things that we're going to do to address that is through experiential learning and mentorship. I know my great colleague, Tony Rippo, is on this call, and she does a great job in the career services shop on doing that. We also want to do community engaged learning, which is bringing students and faculty members in with our community partners to have a mutually beneficial relationship on particular projects. And we want to have a reverse where we have community members come in and do lifelong learning on partnerships on issues, whether it's arts and culture or interdisciplinary and community issues that come up. And one of the things, after having some of those conversations that we've identified as actual clusters or areas of distinction for our campus have to do with healthcare, business, early university programs, aging, cybersecurity, and hospitality and tourism. I'm sure none or all those clusters are not a surprise to those of you on this call, but I just wanted to say that a little bit about that's what the University of South Florida is focused on right now, and look forward to working with all of you and of course our partners in the K through 20 silo to bring those to you. So I'll stop, Thomas, and for any questions, and I'll pass it to you to go on to our next presenter.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Casey. Greatly appreciated. We have Dr. Ron DePillo from Suncoast Technical, and going to hand it over to you, Ron.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me, Thomas. Thank you for the group. Hard to follow Casey all the time. He's, covering, and the other guests, coming in the end. We are on the opposite end of that spectrum right now. We are experiencing high demand for our programs. We're experiencing overwhelming demand for our graduates, as you know, because of that vacuum that's out there in the workforce. We have tried to respond in spite of the state's efforts to do a good job locally to get people through our programs quickly and into the workplace to mitigate that vacuum that's existing right now. We are at capacity. We are pushing out as many students as we can at Suncoast Technical College, and where the jobs are, they're everywhere. And so we are more geared towards a skilled training than a just job seeker job training. We are looking at that regional demand list. We're looking at the regional high wage, high skill performance. It has longitudinal data over time. We are watching that list that comes out of CareerSource. We appreciate their work they're doing. Josh shared a wonderful article this morning about that sandemic where the jobs are drying up for multiple, or not jobs, but the employment workforce is drying up for many reasons, even prior to the pandemic. Great article. It helps us guide our work. But I don't know, Thomas, do you have that video that I sent you?
Yes.
So
let me share my screen here.
Yep. In response to their some of the demands, we have created some fast track programs with the help of Career Edge. And if you, I guess you have to hit the play. You can go ahead and play that video for a second. It's a 2-minute video. I hate to trouble everybody, but it's really important.
I come in each day and get to work on cars like I enjoy. I work as a lube tech right now, and each day try to expand the training and experience so that I can keep growing as a technician. When I went through the training with Career Edge, it helped me to get onto a path as far as schooling and work that was really something that I enjoyed doing, and I hadn't had the opportunity to get involved with before that.
I think my favorite part of my job is the people I work with. They're easygoing, everybody's there for each other, and they're just easy to be with. It makes coming to work a lot easier. After completing Career Edge, it's given me the opportunity to grow as an independent mechanic instead of having to apprentice under somebody. So it's pushed me to grow on my own as well, because I now have better job security, I have a better paying job. It gives me more opportunities, like buying a home. I actually bought my first car.
I've definitely seen a change in the lives of the people that have gone through this program, for sure. We brought in people with no experience, no background, who are mostly in low-skill, low-paying jobs. Through the training, we're able to develop them and keep them through the process so that they developed into, technicians that we need. The skills gap is real. This helps us fill that, definitely. A lot of these people were just bouncing around from job to job, and now they're feeling like they're part of an organization where they have a future, so it's wonderful.
It's very hard to have technicians walk through the door that have been doing it for 20 plus years. With these young students and being able to teach them and get them on the right training path and hopefully make a career out of it is a big success for us here.
I want to say thanks, because I don't know if I would have had the opportunity otherwise if I hadn't had someone to work with me that way and to help me get into the career that I wanted.
I would just like to say thank you to Career Edge. I think that they take a chance on a lot of people who they don't really know much about, but they still invest in us and they invest in our futures. And I think that's a huge deal, and I couldn't express my gratitude enough.
So Thomas, there it is right there. That kind of sums up with the innovative, what we had to do is design a program that was a 6-week program to get us to a place where we had students entering the program and saw immediate results. 6 weeks is a lot less than 12 to 13 months of a program. With the help of Career Edge and the Chamber funding it, we were the kind of the silent training partner in there, but we've replicated that program not only for automotive, but for plumbing, for electric, for auto, for marine, for one more there somewhere, I don't know, culinary now. So as business partners feel the strain of needing employees, they've come to us and we designed these quick start programs to get these people into the workplace, and then they come back for more formal training later on. So our response has been, we went from auto with Career Edge originally, and now we have 6 or 7 different fast track programs that are pumping out 10 to 20 students for every cohort. Can't solve everybody's problem in the community for workforce, but we're chipping away at it one piece at a time. So that's what our new innovative programs are here at Suncoast Technical College.
Joy has a question,
Thank
Thomas,
you.
if you want to. Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, Dr. DePillo, hello.
Hi, Joy.
Some of the youth that we are working with, I want to know, how early can we get them involved? Some talk about they just don't see college as something they can do, want to do. They want to earn, they want a skill like now, yesterday, to help how early can we maybe engage some of our high school kids into thinking about STC?
So we can reach down to 16 for dual enrollment programs during the day, but most recently we're trying to get this model right so that a 17-year-old student who his plans are kind of up in the air, or her plans are up in the air, that we can kind of guide them to say, hey, listen to that manager at Sunset Auto, listen to the manager from one of these groups at Busy Beaver, or Lowe's, even the manager at Lowe's, saying there's careers out there, Publix, that don't necessarily require a college degree up front, but once you find your track and your interest, you may end up going back to college at 22 or 23 years old when the time is right for that person and they see the value in it for their career. So what we're doing now is reaching down. We had 5 students from Northport attend the last auto one. In the evening, after their day at school, They came here for 6 weeks and they all got hired and they're all on their way to a great career, not eliminating college, but just until they're ready for college, they have an opportunity to earn a living wage. We're getting there. We have Dr. Asplin has asked us to do a better job of planning deeper down into high schools and middle schools. And we're looking at how to do that, but we want to do it systemically and systematically so that they have an opportunity to experience these things. And mostly it's going to be having these businesses set foot in the school sites and speak to them about the opportunities. And so that's where we're at.
Yeah, so just another question, and I probably should just call you on the phone, but you know, I think we've got some rising 8th into 9th graders that out of Northport that, you know, hear a lot about trades and things. You know, is there, and I can contact you, but maybe a pathing that we can help them get kind of focused to give them, you know, the let's get through high school at least type focus and giving them something to look forward to.
Yep. Let's give me a call.
All right.
Yeah, and Joy, this is Shauna. You can connect with me too, because that's exactly what we're working with Justin and Trip to do some more of this in the fall around this career exploration specific to the trades. So feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you join our committee if you're interested too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our business partners, I know Career Edge was on this video and they produced this video. We have some more videos coming with the new fast track programs. But, you know, without the help and that innovative opportunity to fund this program, and we've had some great people step forward who want to stay in the background. It covered a lot of these costs. It's happening because the pressure in Sarasota says we need better for our students that the state can deliver. The state's kind of giving us some hiccups right now, but we're going to work around them and do what's right for our population here and for our kids and our business partners, because that's what our job is here.
Super.
So thank you, Thomas.
Yes, I see a couple comments in the chat. Kim, do you want to elaborate on your comments? And then I see one from David.
Yeah, I love what Ron was talking about, how it can help a student get into a pathway. And then when they're ready to college, ideally what we want to talk about are those stackable credentials and making sure that a student doesn't lose money, time, everything they put into a credential once they go to college, and making sure that that can, you know, translate to college credit. So I love everything that's happening at Suncoast.
Yeah, we need the colleges to get on board to value our credentials more.
Yeah, Ron, I have a good example out of Orange Technical College with Valencia that I can share with you.
We have a really good working relationship with SCF now with Terry. I don't know if Terry's on or not. I didn't look, but we are working together to get that opportunity to stack these credentials, at least locally. And then with Casey on board, I'm sure we get to a point where we have to do the third level to the university level. I'm sure we'll have a good conversation about what skill sets come with each credential that they can be valued. Absolutely. Love it. Thank you, Kim.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. DePillo. Very exciting. We also have Michelle Groves, who's filling in actually for Terry, who's away today. So we have Michelle Groves, Assistant Dean for Lifelong Learning and Workforce Development from the State College of Florida.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ron DePillo, that was like a beautiful segue into a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about. So thank you very much. I just wanted to talk about like the number of ways that we can prepare the future workforce. So again, with the STC, and we also have a relationship with MTC as well, we have articulation agreements. So meaning when a student completes their technical certificate from those institutions, their coursework transfers and they can be awarded anywhere between 9 and 12 or 21 credit hours toward an associate in science degree here at State College of Florida. And so since AS degrees are typically 60 credit hours, that can mean anywhere from 15 to 35% of their AS degree is already completed. So they are well on their way. One of the other things that was mentioned was workforce like certifications. We have workforce certificates where in as little as one semester, you can earn a certificate and secure entry-level employment. Then after that, continue on with education and pursue an associate in science degree. The previous panel, Heather mentioned that survey that indicated 45% of employers provide tuition reimbursement. So with that kind of concept, that allows flexibility for them to earn a paycheck with the job skills that they've acquired, and then keep on working towards a degree, which is very nice. Our AS programs are industry aligned to jobs within our local Manatee and Sarasota County service areas. And we have a great resource out there called Career Coach. If you have not visited our website to look at that, it really is pretty awesome. It showcases careers associated with each of our AS programs and certificates. There is even a link to live job postings in our area. This is an open resource, so anyone can access the information. Many of our AS programs have an internship requirement as well, which allows students that firsthand experience into the world of work. And I just want to give a shout out that 2 of our SCF students were recently recognized by the Florida Association of Colleges and Employers as Students of the Year for the amazing internship experiences they completed. One of them was with Moat, and then the other was with VITA, helping with the IRS tax returns. So what previous people were talking about, like those stackable credentials and everything. So for students here at SCF, they leave with a degree, they leave with a workforce certificate, and even some relevant work experience to include on their resume, which helps make them a strong candidate for job placement. For those people that might have a degree or a certificate already, that might be looking to earn an industry certification or complete a licensure exam, we have an industry testing center here at our Lakewood Ranch campus. So lately there's been a lot of testing around medical, like nurse practitioner, nursing home administrator, but virtually every industry is available out there. Again, this is a great way to add to a resume, especially if somebody's looking to get into a different field. And then the new exciting stuff, SCF has added a coding academy. This is housed at our Bradenton campus in 26 West Center. It's a state-of-the-art building, state-of-the-art technology. Starting this fall, a range of classes and seminars, certificate programs are all going to be available to help enhance skill sets. And so from entry-level technology all the way up to business executive coding training. And this is really going to allow participants to prepare for tomorrow's jobs today. And some of those will even count towards an AS degree here at State College of Florida. So it's all working together. For those employers, and Josh mentioned the need for employers to develop their talent pipeline, our workforce development team can provide training to meet your employee needs. So these trainings can cover a variety of topics: computer skills, Word, Excel, leadership, communication, basic CPR, really whatever you need to train your existing employees. We can even develop customized classes for your organization's unique requirements. And so just to end, one of the things that we recognize, I think all of our educational institutions recognize, is that educational path toward a career is not always linear. There's some zigs, there's some zags, and State College of Florida, along with STC, USF, and other educational partners, we're here. We're ready to assist anyone who needs those skills, those training, the experience to basically land that job that's out there waiting for them.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Any questions? I see Brittany Nielsen put in a link for career assessment. So definitely encourage everybody to take a look at that. And then David put some information. David, you want to speak to the part you put in there about the ALICE data?
Yeah, it was just a quick data point to tie back to the comments that Destin had shared about sort of the cost challenges in Sarasota County that intersect with the jobs challenge, and the ALICE data nationally, but in your county, it mirrors housing, childcare, and healthcare are the 3 most fundamental barriers and burdens on the cost of living, and whether or not wages and or other benefits can stabilize those parts of household budgets are fundamental to folks getting a leg up and getting started. And I just thought people might want that data to see where the county data shows up on that. The data I linked to is 2018 data. The report It doesn't have the county by county data yet for 2020, but it's just a relevant reference point. And to everybody, I've been trying to pull links to people's programs and stuff along the way. So if we missed doing that for you, take a minute and stick a link in the chat, because we capture the chat in the recording as well and can make sure all the links go around to folks. So.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions for any of our speakers, for Casey, Dr. DePillo, or Michelle? Or even if you didn't get a chance to ask the first panel, you may have a question.
Thomas, if I can, since I stayed on well past when I was planning to get up, I just want to give a shout out to my fellow panelists and say that I think we're very lucky in our community to have complementary higher education. You know, I consider Ron and Michelle and all of our partners at STC and SCF incredible partners in our local community, and the fact that, you know, someone growing up or just moving this community can start at STC, go to SCF, and finish with a graduate doctoral degree and never have to leave our county. And it's an incredible thing. And I know that the chamber and the EDCs all tout that when they're recruiting businesses to our local community. And I just want to give a shout out to our partners and think it's a great strength, and just appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Kimberly sent me the her PowerPoint. I'll have to email it. She didn't send me the link, so I can't just drop it into the link. I actually have the actual PowerPoint, but I will put it on an email back to the group. So thank you all.
And I did post
again,
earlier the link. Thomas, there was earlier, I posted the link that she had in the PowerPoint to all of their detailed rundown on their page. So that's really the go-to source. We'll get the PowerPoint out to you, but go to the FCAM page and see the legislative update for the information.
Yes, because that has, she's not kidding, she was rushing to go through that. So yeah, that has the full thing. You do want to see that. So again, just special thanks to Josh, to Heather, I'm trying to find boxes, which I can't see on my screen right now, but to Destin, tremendous job. Also big thanks to Casey, Dr. DePillo, and to Michelle. Greatly appreciate all of you for lending your expertise. Amazingly, I thought we'd be running a little late, but I'm going to give you 3 minutes of your time back. So thank you all. Have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.